Ladies and gentlemen, this is an Asteroid Fight Club update for the best of the best and the coolest of the cool. As I had warned that I did not believe or trust this downturn in the data at all. And so we watched the stock market go up quite a bit over a few days as people had said that we'd reached the peak. And I had said, don't trust it, because if there's one thing we have watched continually since the coronavirus COVID outbreak in the middle of January is that governments have seemed to be uniform in not always telling the public the truth or the proper data. The best way for me to illustrate that is how they told everyone if you were younger than 65 and didn't have any pre-existing conditions, the chances of the coronavirus killing you were super low. And that has not turned out to be true, as 45% of the people who are infected and in some type of intensive care are under 65. And so we have seen politicians and the major stockholders, shareholders, and the richest people on earth concentrating and focused on the economy in the majority since this thing is pretty much broke out. And so I have recommended to everybody, take this virus like a matter of life and death. You don't want to touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. And that plan on playing excellent defense all of April. And that the old world as we know it is crumbling before our eyes. That capitalism, socialism, and communism have major inherent problems, and we're going to have to come up with a system for all people that works well, or we're going to end up in a big flaming ball of shit and death and destruction if we just try to continue on a war path and a profit and greed path. Yeah, so we see the deaths in the United States of America go on the 4th to 1330, on the 5th to 1165, on the 6th 1255, and this is when everybody's talking about we're gonna apparently the American economy is like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, and we're just gonna open the chocolate factory up. We're ready like at the end of the month, and then boom, as almost a 600 death increase in the United States in a short period of time. And I have noticed and noted that don't get excited about any lags in data that take place over Saturday or Sunday. And I think, we may not see this thing peak for 2 or 3 more weeks, and then other spots across the United States and the globe are going to have still their own, local peaks, and we're going to have to come up with some major new plans to make sure this all works, to keep everybody fed, to keep the lights on, the water running, and all the healthcare workers and essential service workers protected as best as possible, including the U.S. postal system. And so, I believe that both of our political parties are controlled by profit-based systems where they'll make as much money. They try to, the shareholders, stock markets, like that's what everything is counted on. And so I don't know why people are acting like the numbers don't continue to increase on a pretty scary level, and we are not seeing any type of a dip down. And until we see the dip down, prepare for just get worse until it gets better. The United States is now at 400,000 coronavirus cases, 12,857 deaths, which is like having 4 9/11s in a 3 or 4 week span. You have 83,000 deaths across the globe, 1.4 million people infected. And I want to remind people, A, we are still in the very first wave of this. And B, it seems to be a mutating virus that we know extremely little about. And so there's a lot of weirdness around this, a lot of questions. But the idea that anyone knows anything or has this all figured out now is just a bad way to think, in my opinion. And while consumer confidence is taking an absolute nosedive, the American stock market bottomed out in its latest bottom out for 2020 on March 23rd. And so on March 23rd, it hit its low for the 2020, and then it started to go back up again, and today is up, although it's not on this chart, it's up 200 points as I'm making this video. And so it's up like 4,000 points, 4,500 points since the 23rd. And so on March 23rd, we had 43,000 cases across the USA, and we are now at 400,000 cases. So that's like isn't that 1,000% increase? And we have gone from 550 deaths on the 23rd to 12,000 deaths. And the stock market is up 20%, 23% since then. That's why we are in a bit of a turbulent time, and with the Eris alignment this week, it seems like we're farther away than we've ever been before on everyone working together to come up with a new plan and a best plan for all people, because not only is this in the first wave, we don't really have any major plans on how to, quote unquote, reopen the Willy Wonka chocolate factory. And like a few days ago, the president was saying we need to fill the pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball stadiums as soon as possible. The Major League Baseball was even talking on Monday, and I think as part to pump and dump the stock markets, that they were going to open spring training in May, just not have any people in the stands, just have the baseball players play without. And that just sounded like a fantasy, as like I said yesterday, that they were just going to pump and dump the stock market. And so, like I said, the low was on the 23rd for the markets, and they have been going up since. But I believe we are definitely in for another big leg down as people get aware, it is nowhere near peak yet. We have 2 or 3 more weeks at best, I would guess. I'd be more than happy to be wrong. And we don't really have a good plan how to reopen everything. And that, like, the checks they said for the normal people we're going to get $1,200. Those are supposed to be going out a week from now, and they're having problems with some of the unemployment benefits. Like, so the 377,000 Americans that really need to be taken care of have not been, like, there's no real social net in place, and we are seeing crime rise in some sections. I know it's happening in Houston, and definitely like domestic violence, and everybody needs to be cool and definitely try not to make life harder for other people. I highly recommend that. Yeah, like, people giving me shit for drinking, and it's like, hey man, have you not been paying attention the last 3 months? And right now, it really seems like all the politicians and the richest people on the planet are doing what they can to just boost stock prices or make people believe that the stock market is going to do great really soon. And that seems really dangerous. So as a planetary defense commander and a guy who would like to get to 1,000 years of peace and everyone working together and to defeat this virus, it's very, very, very frustrating, because I believe I have called this as accurately as possible. This video is from December 26th, where I was telling y'all, and had been telling y'all since September, I was 99.9% sure the global economy was going to crash in 2020. Saturn, the underworld, and the economy. This video is from January 4th. 2020 will be the wildest year in known human history. Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter conjunctions. 2020 will be wilder than any year in human history, and the world will be absolutely totally different in 2021 than 2020. And then here, my video on January 6th, Pluto, Saturn conjunction, and death. So with the Earth-Sun alignment coming up on the 13th of April, I expect the really crappy energy to peak around then. And so, people are going to be more apt to fight. Eris is the goddess of discord and a planet that got Pluto demoted. Discord and strife. Like she threw the golden apple amongst all the goddesses and then got all the goddesses to fight for 1,000 years or something. And so Eris is up in the mix all 2020, but definitely during this conjunction, people are going to have more emotional outbursts, more breakdowns. They're going to get mad at people easier. And definitely it seems like for the next week, all the forces are going to be doing what they can not to work together. Like this is the time where people are least have ever like it seems like nobody really wants to work together, which is insane because the only way out of this is by teamwork and figuring out a new system and a new plan for everyone that works really well. And so I'm just saying, yeah, it's pretty bad. And right now the focus is on the markets and the money. Very much focus is on the people, the military, and the doctors and their protection and all the essential workers. This is literally almost like the 13 versus the 300. That's a very metaphorical thing with 13 and actually the Silicon Valley 6, which represent like the richest Silicon Valley people and then the richest old money people. And then the 300 are like the people, man. And as I have been recommended for 7 years, everybody's got to work together. That's the only way we're going to make it through this alive without all the wheels totally coming off. And, take care of your quote unquote weakest link. Although I think me being a poor person, people are mentally, physically, spiritually stronger than the richer people. I definitely think to keep everything together, you got to take care of your quote unquote weakest link first. So just make sure that everybody's fed, the lights stay on, we'll have our water, and I would keep the internets up. So everybody stay cool. I'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, I'm sorry to report to you, it's still getting worse, bro. And, I have people sometimes say I'm a braggart or I have an ego, and it's not that. It's just that a lot of times when you're putting out information against millions of other people, I have been accurate and honest the whole time. And I had made that 2 videos saying, I do not believe this data downturn. And I don't think you should either. And even if the data starts looking good for a week or 2, you should at least have the data look good for 2 or 3 weeks before you get excited, before you let your guard down in any way, shape, or fashion. Anyway, I love you, and I want us all to work together. And I do believe that things will improve after about the 9th month, and then they will improve fast, and then we will get to the roaring 2020s, kinder, cooler, and greater than ever before. So it's always darkest before the dawn, but hope is not dead. But yeah, definitely April is going to be nasty. April is going to have a lot of death in it. John Prine, a musician, died today. Like the amount of cool musicians or just cool people that have died. So this is real. This has never been a hoax. This has always been something you should take seriously. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose anyone. I don't want to lose my enemies, man. I wouldn't wish this upon the worst people. But this is definitely a good time to raise your game. It's now or never, baby. God bless everyone. Stay cool.